Hey again, YouTube. Some of you might have actually watched my homemade live fire concoctions. I shortened that video a little bit because, well, I started rambling on towards the end, talking about the accelerants and everything, and I'm trying to avoid making long videos, the kind where you guys tune out at, minute 12. So I figured I'd do a quick little video about the different accelerants you can use in your own little concoctions, and some of the stuff you can just find around the house that you can use as an accelerant in your choices. I'm also going to talk about the drawbacks of a few of them. I may have covered them in the live fire, but I'll reiterate them again here. What I'm doing is I'm actually looking at the simplest way to start a fire, which is a spark. I'm not actually very good getting a spark with flint and steel. So what I am going with is my base skill level, which is ferro rod. If I can light it with a ferro rod, then I can light it with a match, or I can light it with a torch. I'm not always going to be having the match or the torch with me, but 9 times out of 10, should be 10 times out of 10, I admit, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to have a ferro rod or access to a ferro rod. So, I showed you what a cotton ball is like, how easy it is to light and how quickly it burns. So I started thinking, why don't I just use cotton balls as the base? So there's a whole bunch of cotton balls. My girlfriend makes fun of me when I buy them. She doesn't buy them at all. Your normal household things that you can use. I mentioned the isopropyl alcohol. It does work really well. Let's do a quick blast with it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Oh, man, my fingers went. Okay, ISO. Thing to remember when you're working with isopropyl alcohol, it's an alcohol, it evaporates really quickly. This is a 70% alcohol solution that I use for disinfecting wounds and for rubbing onto insanely sore muscles after I'm an idiot and work out too much. Cotton balls away from the fire. Ferro rod, ISO soaked cotton ball. Yeah. Catches fire, burns. This has more ISO than the live fire homemade concoctions did, but it works. It's got the same drawback as I mentioned in the video. It's great in an emergency. I just lost some arm hair there. Don't press down. You'll force a flame towards yourself and lose a little arm hair. Don't do what Johnny Don't does. But yeah, the problem with ISO is this stuff evaporates, and you can use it in the short term. It's great in the short term. I could light a fire in my fireplace in emergency with it if I needed to, and I had some ISO out at the cabin, I could do that. Some other things that you see around the house. Nail polish remover. It is, if I remember, this has an acetate or a benzoate solution in it. It's flammable. It stinks to high heaven, but it's flammable. You could use it in an emergency if you needed to get a fire going at home and you had access to this. Paint thinner, anything like that that you could find in an industrial setting. You could soak the cotton ball, soak whatever tinder you're trying to soak, and then just do the same thing that you would normally do. Rough it up. Make sure it's not on your fingers when you're about to use it. And then strike a spark into it, and it'll burn just fine. Catches a flame, burns just fine. You can use this in a little tin if you can use it, I'd say right away. Truthfully, you probably have about 24 hours before this starts to evaporate a lot, unless your container is airtight. You have the same problem with the next idea that I had that you'll have with both of these. The main problem is acetate, benzoate, any alcohol, any artificial hydrocarbon evaporates. It's the vapors that burn. So, Aqua Velva. Remember Duckman, there was a quote where if women weren't around, men would have blown themselves up decades ago through a combination of, I think, bullets, booze, and Aqua Velva. I don't know. I love Dark Man. Oh, horribly sexist show. Anyways, it doesn't have to be Aqua Velva. Any of your perfumes, any of your colognes, anything that has the alcohol base. I mean, you can just see here the green from the original Sport aftershave. Yes, obviously I've used it. When you shave your head, you put that on. Holy hell. But yeah, anything that's got a natural alcohol base to it or an oil base. Eau de toilette has, I think, an alcohol base for most of it. Some of it might have an oil base, but it has the same thing. It's an accelerant, and it burns. It just smells a little bit better than nail polish remover or isopropyl alcohol. I'm sure a 90% solution of isopropyl alcohol would burn even hotter than that, but I don't have a 90% solution. I have 70%. It's all you really need to disinfect wounds. Try not to bring myself again. Smells like burnt cotton and Aqua Velva now. I mean, the go-to product that most people talk about is Petroleum Jelly. Petroleum Jelly and cotton balls is the really big thing. It does work. It's a little messy, I'll admit. But some people will actually take cigar tubes, preferably ones that you still have the cap to, even though you don't really have to worry about that. But cigar tubes, take the Petroleum Jelly, pack it in here, and they'll just take a branch, rub in the Petroleum Jelly, get a spark on the branch, or on whatever natural tinder they're using, and the Petroleum Jelly is the accelerant, and it helps them create a nice little fire. One other upside with using cigar tubes, if you have some of these, well, in this case it's relatively high-end cigar, they'll put cedar strips on the inside. I actually like carrying some of these in my fire kit with matches or OBs or anything stuffed inside of them, because that cedar strip, you can also then use it in your fire. But yeah, Petroleum Jelly in here, they just dip it in. Most people will take the cotton ball, put it in the Petroleum Jelly, or they'll take the Petroleum Jelly and goop it right onto the cotton ball. I'm trying not to get my hands covered in Petroleum Jelly. And you just rough up the fibers enough. Good for the hands. Cotton ball and Petroleum Jelly. The upside with a Petroleum Jelly is that it will actually, it retards the speed of the burn, because it's burning the Petroleum Jelly rather than the cotton, so you don't get that flash over. So, I mean, this will keep burning for a little while longer than just a cotton ball. It's actually burning fairly decently. I'm making sure that I put each one of these out completely, because I'm just putting them in this little votive candle holder. And considering the different accelerants I've got in there, one spark, and glass explodes if it gets hot enough. So that was, you know, just your standard Petroleum Jelly. Mentholated rub, Vapo rub, whatever you want to call it. It has a petroleum base to it. And along with menthol and camphor oil. Also, depending on the quality of the rub that you got, it might have different degrees, percentages, weight per volume of each one of those. But it's still a petroleum base. You can still use this in your little concoction tins. These that I'm showing you now don't have the same drawbacks as the alcohol, the acetate, any of those base, because they don't evaporate. The Petroleum Jelly, the Vapo Rub, the Tiger Balm, and the oil that I'm about to show you, and the paraffin, if they dry out, it's not a bad thing. You can actually just crinkle up the surface of some old petroleum jelly, and it will have liquid underneath it. It takes a long time for this stuff to dry out completely. That's actually quite a pleasant smelling little burning cotton ball. Vapor rub and black smoke. But you see my point here. It's got roughly the same properties as the petroleum jelly does the vapor rub, mentholated rub. And the upside is you have these products around your house. It's just like having like cayenne pepper for if you have a cut. You have cayenne pepper for cooking, cool. Well, if you get a cut on yourself, you can use cayenne pepper for to stop the blood flow, clotting. Actually, thank you, Will, for teaching me that, because the very next day after I watched your video, I nicked my thumb pretty bad and had cayenne pepper, so I was able to put that on there and didn't have to worry. Tiger Balm. If you're like me and you do martial arts, you've probably got some liniment of some sort. Doesn't have to be Tiger Balm. I had some liniment from Thailand. I could not read the label. I had to buy it by the case. It stank to high heaven, but it worked. It was a lot like Tiger Balm. I can't get it anymore. But this stuff, if you happen to have this or something like it around the house. A535 doesn't burn the same. It's got a lotion base instead of a petroleum base. But take the Tiger Balm. And remember, after you're touching this stuff, don't touch your face. I did that once, and it was hilarious. Yeah, take the Tiger Balm, work it in there. Get the cotton off your finger. Really good for arthritic joints. 20 years of kickboxing will give you knuckles of an old man. Yeah, I'm bouncing as I'm scraping. But yeah, you can see there, the Tiger Balm's burning. It's burning about as good as the petroleum jelly. It might actually be evaporating a little bit quicker. If I remember correctly, Tiger Balm has cinnamon oil, camphor oil, menthol, a petroleum base, and one or two other oils that I can't. Apparently I can't speak English today. Jag kan inte prata svenska, jag är från Canada. But yeah, you can see that it's burning fairly well. It's actually, yeah, it shocked me at how quickly that went up. It's burning beyond when I thought it would stop. Not quite as good as petroleum jelly, but again, this is, if you have the product and say you bought this stuff, you don't like using it on yourself and you want to try it as a fire tinder or accelerant for these, go right ahead. It works fairly well. If you're like me and you've got a whetstone, I'm going to try and speed this up, guys. Sorry for blathering. If you're like me and you've got a whetstone, you probably have mineral oil. Unless you've got like a diamond stone, in which case you might have a non-petroleum stone oil. Or you've got water stones like me too. You don't use mineral oil with water stones, you use water. Hence the name. You can take your cotton ball, and I actually find roughing it up first, even before you put it into the tin. Take your mineral oil. In this case, this is just regular old mineral oil that I picked up at my local sports store, where I pick up 95% of my kit. The rest of it's from Specialist, or I get a lot of it through Amazon, or I'll get gifts from family members. But you work the oil in there, and then you, even in your tin you could do this, fluff it up and strike your spark. Upside to working the oil in there, you saw how quickly it flared up. This burns actually fairly well. It burns relatively hot. Like, remember, I couldn't do this with the petroleum jelly Burt's Bees tin. Well, or I could do this. This one's actually hot enough that I don't want to do that. It's an oil, you can impregnate the OB tampons with it. I'd actually recommend you take a small syringe, put that oil in it, and inject it directly into the center of the OB tampons. That way, not only will it not dry out, it will eventually propagate to the outside of the tampons and saturate it completely, and it'll give you a burn just like this. These can all be used. This kind of stinks actually as it burns, so that's one thing to be aware of. Got a mouthful. These can all be used for long-term storage in your concoction container. Paraffin wax. I took this, melted a little bit using the torch, poured the paraffin wax directly on there. Now, like I said before, the problem with the paraffin wax, you have to get the levels right. And it's hard for it to stay lit if you make it too hard. So what I've done is, this is about, I'd say, half a teaspoon of paraffin wax. And I'm going to aim to put the part that I poured the wax into. I actually poured it into the center of a cotton ball. I'm going to have that on the bottom. And I'm going to see if I can make this work. Kind of like a candle. Mineral oil, when it burns, really does stink and actually tastes pretty shitty. It's a cotton ball, so and I just about rubbed my face with the hand that had the Tiger Balm on it. As you can see, it's actually burning relatively well. If you are going to use paraffin wax with a cotton ball, try doing what I did, which is pour the paraffin wax or the sealing wax or whatever wax you're using into a little divot on the bottom of the cotton ball. Pour it directly into there, and then when you're lighting it, turn it the other way up, and it'll act like a candle. This will probably give me a good, easily a minute burn time, and I can light up tinder off of that. These are just some of the ideas. I mean, if you guys want, you can give me your own ideas. If you want me to try something and you think, you know what, that'd be a cool idea, maybe I can get this crazy guy to try it, because I don't want to do it in my place. And I can actually find the product or I have it around the house, I'll give it a go, and I'll try it both in the tins and just do a quick demo for you guys. You know, this was just a few little ideas that kind of popped off the top of my head. Stuff I had around the house. You could always carry something like a propane torch if you needed to, or you could always carry whatever you always carry. This is stuff you might not always carry, or stuff you have around the house that you weren't entirely certain could do this, but now you know. So I'm going to stop there. Hopefully this was a short enough video to keep your attention. If you haven't seen my live fire concoction video, then I'm going to put the link to it here. And, you know, please take a gander at that video. In the comment section below, if you have an idea on something that you want to see, put it in there. And I'll do my best within a month or so to take your ideas and to try them out. If they work, I'll put them on here. I might even try the ones that I don't think will work, and I'll let you guys know. So that's about it for right now, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you want more comments like this, more content like this, please kick. You know, if I could speak English, this video would go really, really well. If you want more content like this, guys, please click like, please subscribe if you want, please share the video as much as you want. I want to bring this stuff to you guys, and it is great having your support. So until next time, guys, I'm Stick Guy 187. Stay sharp.